Shalom, and thank you for joining me on Through the Eyes of Scripture. So, this video is just going to give a little bit of insight and clarification on a mystery that apparently is in Scripture that I don't think a lot of us realize was there. This started because I was working on the video Daniel 9 concerning the 1 week in reverse. And while making that video, I did address Christians and Christianity and the identity crisis that I would say that is prevalent among many professing Christians. And in that process, like I mentioned, I kind of stumbled across the fact that there is a mystery surrounding the Gentiles. We are made aware of this mystery in Ephesians chapter 3, in verses 1 through 9. For this cause, I, Paul, the prisoner of Yeshua HaMashiach, for you Gentiles, if ye have heard of the dispensation of grace of Yahuwah, which is given to me youward, how that by revelation he made known to me the mystery, as I wrote afore in a few words, whereby, when ye read, ye may understand my knowledge in the mystery of Hamashiach, which in other ages was not made known unto the sons of men, as it is now revealed unto his holy apostles and prophets, by the Ruach, that the Gentiles should be fellow heirs and of the same body, and partakers of the promise in Hamashiach by the gospel, whereof I was made a minister, according to the gift of the grace of Yahuwah, given unto me by the effectual working of his power. Unto me, who am less than the least of all saints, is this grace given, that I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Hamashiach, and to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, which from the beginning of the world hath hid in Yahuwah, who created all things by Yeshua HaMashiach. So I know the King James can get a little overwhelming, but the key and the takeaway from this is that concerning the Gentiles, we have a mystery. Or in other words, there's a mystery concerning the Gentiles, and we're going to delve into what that mystery is. Now, of course, it tells you that the mystery is about them being the fellow heirs, but there's some things that we have to clear up and identify, because we talk about Gentiles and, according to how we know it based on scripture. But the interesting thing about this verse is that it points out that in other ages, this mystery basically was not known to the sons of men, but it's revealed now. And as we know, scripture has a funny way of, being prophesied thousands of years ago, but yet finding its fulfillment years later. And this verse actually does speak to this generation. Not saying that it didn't apply in the time that it was written or when it was spoken, but it speaks to this generation, because all we really know is that there are the Israelites and there are the Gentiles. But what we're missing, or what has not really been revealed to us, or what we didn't fully understand at one point, was that when dealing with the Gentiles, you're actually dealing with them under different classifications or in different groups. And I'm going to go ahead and explain that in a moment, but I just wanted to bring that up because I know that we talk about the Gentiles a lot, but I don't think we understand that sometimes it seems like scripture contradicts itself. Now, we know scripture does not contradict itself, but it seems that way. But whenever you come across anything in scripture where it seems like there's a contradiction, that just means that that is something that you may need to spend more time and energy learning about, because there's something there, because we know scripture does not contradict itself. So we need to understand why there appears to be a contradiction when we know that it isn't. In this case, I don't even know if we realize, like, for example, when we talk about the Gentiles, we know that they are grafted in among us, right? There's no distinction. So if there's no distinction and we are all one, how can the Gentiles be Israel's servants? And if there is no difference between the Yahudim and the Gentile, how is there a great multitude of all nations and all people? These are things I don't think we fully thought about. I think we say them, but not really realize that, on one hand, we're saying that there is no difference, we're all one. But then on the other hand, we say, oh, there's a great multitude of every tongue, nation, and tribe. So either the Gentiles are the seeds of Abraham, and they're one and heirs according to the promise, or they're Israel's servants, right? And they come from every nation, tongue, and tribe, and they will be serving Israel. So let's understand this mystery of the Gentiles. The best way that I am able to explain it is that it appears the Gentiles are divided up into three groups in Scripture. The first group of Gentiles are grafted into Israel's fold. The second group is the great multitude. This great multitude serves Yahuwah day and night in his temple. And then we have the third group, and these group of Gentiles are Israel's servants. So let's take a closer look. When we look at group 1, we know that this is group 1 because group 1 concerning the Gentiles is dealing with a quota. This particular group of Gentiles, they're being grafted into Israel's fold, right? And the reason they're being grafted in is because the original branches are being broken off. So in other words, whenever you have a tree, you have the ability to quantify and count the number of branches on the tree. And so when those branches are being removed, you can kind of see that the tree is basically more scarce and sparse. But when you fill in those branches, now your tree is basically becoming full again. And once that tree is at capacity, once the fullness of the branches have been grafted into Israel's fold, then the blindness is going to be lifted. So in that sense, this is why we have what's called a quota. Now, like I mentioned, we have a quota and there's a time limit. So once the fullness of the Gentiles has come in, Israel's blindness is going to be lifted. Once the blindness is lifted, group 1 of the Gentiles will be closed. Basically, there will be no more grafting in. Quota has been met. And in this group, in group 1, there is no distinction. So this is where it applies. There's no distinction between the Yahudim and the Greek, right? They're all one in the Hamashiach. And they're all fellow heirs according to the promise, and they will receive an inheritance. Now, then we have group 2. Now, this group of Gentiles are those that have obtained their salvation during the Great Tribulation. That's the difference between group 1 and group 2. So group 1, pretty much this has been going on since the invitation to invite the Gentiles into Israel's fold. And technically, if you look at the Old Testament, it looks like even a little bit before that. But that will come to a close once once quota has been met. Now, when it comes to group 2, they, on the other hand, these are the people that perhaps obviously did not make it into group 1, and now the Great Tribulation is upon them. And these are the ones that now decide, oh, I guess, you know what, we do need to call on the name of Yehoshua HaMashiach. You'll find a great illustration of this in Revelations 11, verse 13, where what we're going to see is the 2 witnesses that were killed, right? And then they're taken up into heaven. And during that same hour, there's this great earthquake that occurs. And when the great earthquake occurs, about 7,000 men were killed, or basically 7,000 people are going to be killed. And the people and the standard people who are standing by witnessing this, the Gentiles who have been watching this, are going to be terrified and give glory to the Elohim of heaven, right? This is what will open the door for their salvation. So you most likely, during this time of tribulation where all types of things are going on in the last days, which I talked about in the end time order of events, that is when you're going to see a lot of Gentiles coming into salvation. So this is, of course, after the fact. They will come in group 2. Now with group 2, there are so many Gentiles. They are referred to as the great multitude, and no man could number them. So that's the difference between group 1 and group 2 as well. And there is a distinction among them because they come from every language, nation, tribe, and people, and so forth. So this group is very distinct. There is no oneness with this group because They're a different group of people. Not saying that there's discord, but there's a variety. And as I mentioned earlier, they have come out of the Great Tribulation. And this group, the Great Multitude, group 2, they serve Yahuwah in his temple day and night. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this because 1, I'm still studying it, but 2, this serving Yahuwah in his temple day and night, this appears to be kind of between heaven and earth. Like they're in his temple in heaven, and also there are verses where it appears that they're also on earth, in his holy mountain. But again, that's not really for this video. The purpose in this video is just to point out that group 2, these Gentiles are the great multitude, and they serve him day and night in his temple. They are an eclectic variety of people, and they are countless. They're numberless. You cannot count them because there are so many, and this all happened during the Great Tribulation. Okay, so lastly we have group 3. Now, group 3, this is a group of Gentiles that when we had the day of Yahuwah, that came and wreaked havoc on the world and judged the nations. And he did a lot of killing and stomping of grapes and making wine, which is basically blood. And again, that's all detailed in the summary I did in the end time order of events. But nonetheless, when all of these things transpired, there were still some Gentiles that escaped, which obviously Yahuwah allowed this to happen. He didn't kill all of them, and those that survived are actually going to be Israel's slaves. They will be nursing Israel's children. They will be giving them wealth. They will come to Israel in chains, so on and so forth. These are the Gentiles who have held the children of Israel captive. And basically, this is their judgment. For the 1,000 years, they are going to be servants to the children of Israel. All right, so that's really the mystery, and hopefully this definitely clears up a lot about the Gentiles, because I don't think that we understood or realized that there was a mystery, because I know I didn't. I at one point did not either. But yes, there is a mystery surrounding the Gentiles, and the best way to understand that mystery is understanding the 3 different groups of Gentiles that we have. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.